is going to be interesting.
You discovered things about yourself you never knew, skills and abilities you didn't know that you had. You unlocked your potential and performance, and you understood the power of working as a team.
I woke up one day and decided to change my life.
Here, we don't have disabilities.
The spirit of Invictus is those who overcome and achieve things that they never thought that they would be able to.
Invictus means being together.
Це як символ Invictus, непереможний.
Without the Invictus journey, I haven't been here today.
People need to realize that they're not alone, that there is help that is available.
While the Games continue to be the incredible beating heart of our movement, our work is year-round.
It doesn't stop here. It doesn't stop when the competition stops. This is lifelong. It goes round the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Well, that was what I will call food for thought. And this is our first in a series, I hope, of meeting our athletes at the Invictus Games. And I started here in the area of Wasaga Beach. So in other words, this community. And Norland, where our guest, Melissa Henderson, comes from, is reasonably close to where we are. Why is something like this important? We're trying to meet our athletes in something. It's an endeavor that is long in the making. So let me introduce you to Melissa Henderson, Corporal Melissa Henderson. Melissa, hi. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Hi, Frank. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. And so when we talk about the Invictus Games, in your own words, what do you think the Invictus Games are, and why are you getting involved with them?
Well, for me, it's to inspire each other, get through something together. When you go through something hard, whether it's a course or a traumatic event, when you do it with others, it brings us closer. We support each other, we feed off each other, and we get through it together. And Invictus is helping heal soldiers through sport. And for some reason, that wasn't something that I ever thought about until I was exposed to Invictus. And it really does just that. You're healing through competition and helping each other conquer their goals.
So how do you decide what event to take, to do, to compete in?
Well, this year was very unique. This is the first time Invictus has had winter sports. So for me, I used to ski as a child. So skiing was definitely, alpine skiing was definitely on my top 3. Skeleton scared me to death. So I definitely wanted to try that just to get over that fear. And swimming has always been challenging. I'm a great swimmer, but put my face in the water and try to swim is a different story. So I wanted to overcome that. I wanted that to be a sport that I could do after the games. I hurt my back, multiple injuries. I can't run anymore. I used to compete, and that was my sport. And I wanted something I could do that wouldn't bring me pain, and I could actually compete after the games. And so that was swimming. And for the team sport, I chose volleyball, and it's been fantastic.
And it, being in the water is therapeutic mentally and physically. So it's a great tool for you, right?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Just getting myself to the pool. It was more of a mental game of committing to just get in the pool. So that was my mantra pretty much for the past year, is just show up, just get in there, and everything else kind of fell into place.
And then all of a sudden, Melissa, the competitor,
Yes.
all of a sudden kicks in. Speak to her and her competing edge, and why the competing is important to her.
Yeah, as a child, I started doing sports in public school. I was encouraged, and it became my thing. I wasn't really great at school, so sports was my go-to. And I became very competitive, and I kind of lost that part of me. I went through something traumatic, and I forgot about her. And Invictus has really brought that back out, and just being on a team, that team environment, that support, it's just been fantastic.
The main reason I wanted to do these interviews, I'm a member of the Legion. I'm the vice president of Sega Beach, Legion's branch 645. I'm dedicated to working with you and other veterans, and being a part of being. I mean, the government looks after, the VA. There's all kinds of programs that help veterans. We're sort of just we sort of fill in the empty spaces, and at least that's what I hope we'll do. So just because a veteran needs help, it isn't always defined, is it, by just going to war? There's also normal life situations that create challenges for you, right? Do you want to speak to challenges, and we'll sort of roll back to the beginning, what you're doing now, why you're doing what you're doing now, and what was sort of the inception of it?
Right. So I'll rewind to tell you a little bit about my service. I was in the Canadian Armed Forces for 6.5 years. I was a supply technician in the Army. I was posted at Petawawa to Service Battalion in CSOR, the Canadian Special Operations Regiment. I received the Platoon Athlete Award, Private of the Year, had a lot of awesome training opportunities, as advanced promoted. I was excelling in my trade. I also deployed to Dakar, Senegal in Africa, and Kingston, Jamaica. I had a fantastic career, loved every minute of it. Unfortunately, I went through a traumatic event in 2012. We got married. I had wanted to have children, and we got pregnant right away, and we were really excited. We were having a baby girl. Her name was Emma Susan, after both of our mothers. Unfortunately, things in the military aren't always the same as in the civilian world. My chain of command wasn't super supportive of me being pregnant in a first line unit. We had a high tempo in the Special Forces. It wasn't, we were just understaffed. It was a lot. We have what's called medical limitations. When you get pregnant, you go to the doctor, they give you a sheet that says you can't do duties, you can't do all kinds of things. You're to do PT on your own. Unfortunately, I was forced to go to the range, do PT with my unit, be on duty, come in the middle of the night, load tri-walls of weapons. I worked in the weapons section while I was pregnant. So my unit doctor asked me to move sections to an office job, which I could have done in my trade as a supply technician. My female warrant at the time said, "Oh, you're going to be one of those pregnant women." I was afraid. I seen how others were treated poorly if they weren't liked. So I didn't want to rock the boat. So I kept my mouth shut, and it was pretty devastating at that time, just because I put so much work into it. I gave 110%. I never thought I would be treated poorly like that. So it was really shocking for me. It was like a moral thing. I think a lot of soldiers feel they give 110%, and then if something happens to them, they're forgotten. And it devastated me. But I went on and I just kept my mouth shut. I asked again when I was closer to 6 months pregnant, hey, can I move sections? Lifting 50 cows isn't probably the best thing for me to be doing. And I was told no, or get someone else to do it. But again, we were so understaffed. There was never anyone around to help. So on December 2nd, 2012, I was at home alone. My spouse, who was also in the Special Forces, he was in the States doing training. I went into premature labor. I drove myself to the hospital, and the doctor told me she was breech and I was in active labor and that she would have 50-50 chance of surviving. It was devastating. It was traumatic. I could go into detail, but it's too much. But instead of bringing her home, she passed away shortly after birth, and I had to make funeral arrangements for her. It was devastating. I was so angry. I don't think I processed it. I still don't think I processed it. You're left with so much anger. And I had to be strong for other people around me, or that's what I thought. So then I didn't feel I could go to work anymore. I didn't feel I could work with that chain of command. Even though I loved my career, I loved my time in, I loved my unit. It was fantastic. It was just there's certain people that, really let me down. And how do you get over that? Where do you begin? There's a lot of grief. There's grief of my career. There's grief of my daughter, obviously, but you just move forward. I was numb. I didn't realize until quite a few years later that I had a problem, and I had anger and I didn't know what to do with it. And I just thought, maybe I have some anxiety. And then I was diagnosed with PTSD, and I was ashamed because my PTSD is not combat. Like, I didn't see combat. I was lucky enough that my deployments were awesome deployments. So how do I get help if it's not combat related? How do I fit in with other soldiers that are getting the treatments for PTSD? So I shied away from all resources out there. I didn't think I fit in until I got in touch with Warrior Adventures Canada. I've always been adventurous, and I thought, hey, that sounds like a really fun experience. They do whitewater canoeing down the Des Moines River. So I signed up, and it was the greatest experience for me, being with veterans that understand. Didn't matter how I got there, they understood. They were super supportive, and I was back in the community, and I felt like I came home. So then that led me to more veteran programs. To the first one was Team Rubicon. Again, a big welcome hug from them. It was super supportive. They're a disaster response team comprised of veterans, first responders, and awesome civilians. I met a woman there who was at the Invictus Games in 2017 in Toronto, and she talked so passionately about Invictus and how it changed her life that she recommended I sign up. So that's what got me here to signing up.
I'm going to take a deep breath and try to wrap my head around what you just told me. The last thing I am here is a therapist, so you're not going to hear any therapy suggestions from me. But the empath in me, you've triggered it a lot. I'm trying not to be emotional here because I'm trying to be professional. When I hear that, I'd like to take the position of being an observer and not a judge. And so in observing what you've been through, that's a lot of trauma. And
Mhm.
I know, like you, I suffer from PTSD, not in a way that you had it. I wasn't in the army, but for me, it was death and responsibility for that death. Um,
Mhm.
it's hard. It's hard. Um, I can't imagine how hard it was for you to be in the position where you could take on so much blame and how much hurt that must have created in you. And so
Mhm.
we talk about the hurt that you're feeling. So now we've set the table for why these games are important, but I think also in between your journey to healing, right? It 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 sounds to me like you're not sure you'll ever get completely to the other side. So you're
Yeah.
basically, I'm getting the impression that you're managing what you went through and how you're moving
Mhm.
forward. And it sounds to me that from that moment on, you were looking for ways to get out from under that spell or that darkness, right?
Mhm.
And the Invictus Games is there for people, veterans, still enlisted, who
Mhm.
have issues and have had trauma in so many different ways. So being around people who feel like you do, you said a little bit of that in there where it helped to be around people who, like you, had issues and you would do
Mhm.
something together. How helpful was that, doing that, being able to bring the feelings you have, meet other people who have the same feelings, and do something that had nothing to do with those dark clouds that you all had?
Yeah, it's great. It's so important. Like I said, I pushed everybody away, and I think that was the worst thing I could have done. And I think everybody who has experienced something traumatic or is dealing with an illness or injury, lean on all of these organizations, these veterans organizations like the Invictus Games. That's what they're here to do, is help you come together through team sports or individual sports, maybe adaptive sports, right? A lot of us have injuries that we can't do the things we used to do. So healing together, you're overcoming something together, and we all get it. Being with people that like really truly get and understand what you've been through, or maybe they can't relate, but they can in another way, like understand the struggles that you've had to overcome to get here, and it's super motivating. Like
Yeah.
I just can't put it into words.
Yeah,
It's
no,
it's been
I'll try to help.
incredible.
Like, I'll try to help.
Yeah.
And just so the viewers can understand, I want to say this too. I didn't pick Melissa as my interview. We met because it was an approved interview
Mhm.
through Soldier On, and and that and that group deals with uh, many different issues. But what I
Mhm.
can say about this, one of the most helpful things for me to at least head towards the other side, because you're never on the other side. I'd like to say that once you have PTSD, you can erase it completely. No, you can't, because there's things called
Mhm.
triggers, and those triggers are
Mhm.
terrible. They're things that happen that you don't even know will bring you back there, or bring that
Yep.
feeling back there, that guilt, that feeling it's your fault, all that stuff. But
Mhm.
when you look at somebody, when you went and you did your, I guess, like whitewater rafting, I guess was one of the things that you were doing. When
Yep.
you're in the boat with those people, when those that took part with you, or when you're talking to them, it's not just the words that makes you feel like them. It's the look in their eyes. It is the
Mhm.
emotional aura that they project, that and that's what helped me.
I
When
get it.
you
Mhm.
can almost see somebody who's been in something like what you've been through. You can see it, so you can relate to them. And now you have
Mhm.
companionship. You have somebody's, I'll put it this way, oversimplifying, but you have somebody to hold hands with for that moment and have a little bit of
Mhm.
understanding, and being able to smile together like you probably did,
Mhm.
being proud of accomplishing the challenge, must have been
Yeah.
lifting for everybody, right?
Yeah. No, it's incredible. They just get it, right? And doing like going down the river, going through the rapids, and losing our canoe, and the laughs we would have. We really came together as a team and got the mission complete. And I'm still in contact with these people, and that was in 2019. So it really means a lot.
The important thing, I guess, for me, why the Invictus Games exist and why they're needed is the biggest challenge I think people have, not just veterans, but everybody who has an issue that they're dealing with, is to never feel abandoned. You don't feel abandoned, do you?
Not anymore. I did when I released, and before I sought out help from these veteran organizations like Invictus and Soldier On and WAC and Team Rubicon. I did feel alone, and that's why I'm suggesting, like, if you feel that way, get into the veteran organizations, volunteer with them. There's resources out there. With Invictus, it's like you'll never feel alone. We have 56 competitors that unfortunately, one of our teammates, they injured themselves skiing, and we all wrapped him up in a big hug. Like, there's no getting away. You're going to feel supported no matter what.
So so you don't feel abandoned, which probably means, and I'm sure you would hope, I know I would hope, that your experience was a learning or a teaching moment for those that were in charge back then, that there have been changes that
I would hope so.
Right. And that's what you hope. That's what I hope, listening to your story. And I'm going to assume, until somebody tells me otherwise, that there was a learning and teaching moment there. So moving forward, now you tried something and you realized that activity was very helpful, doing stuff, socializing, really good. So now, in preparing for the Invictus Games, we discussed what you want to do. Remind the people what it is that you're going to be competing in, and why you chose those specific events.
Sure. So I'm swimming 50-meter freestyle and 100-meter freestyle. I chose swimming because it was such a fear of jumping in the water or putting my face in the water, just that lack of control. It sent me into a panic attack. So I knew swimming would be a really good sport for me. It didn't bring me pain. I just needed to get over it mentally. So that's why I picked that one. I wanted that sport after the games. And skeleton, it scares me. And, there's not really a whole lot of training to do with that. You just, hope for the best. Alpine skiing, I wanted to get better, become a better skier. My whole family has become skiers now this year because of Invictus, and it's been a great way to spend time with the family. And sitting volleyball, I just like volleyball. I've always liked volleyball. It's fun. We have a great team. It's fantastic.
Now, what's the first feeling you're going to have when you? Now, I was just at in Vancouver. Now it happens in Vancouver and in Whistler.
That's right.
Whistler's a beautiful place. You looking forward to being there? Have you ever been there?
Yeah. Actually, our first camp, we were in Whistler, and back in February or March last year. And then our last camp, we just got back in January from Vancouver and Whistler, and it's a fantastic place. It was a lot warmer than here in Ontario. It was no snow, which was kind of scary, but Whistler, there was tons of snow. So it was great. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to bringing my family there. My daughter has never been, so she's super excited.
Yeah, I went for the first time for the Grey Cup to Vancouver, and the Duke was there promoting the Invictus Games, and it was a great experience. Vancouver, when they say it rains, they mean it rains. It rains. It rains. It rains.
Yeah. There's moss on everything.
There's no doubt that it rains in Vancouver. I left there knowing it rains in Vancouver. Have I said it enough times? Probably not enough to describe how often it rains. It's a beautiful city. It's a beautiful area. so that'll be fun. Talk to me about getting the preparation to compete. We talked on the phone yesterday, and we talked about there were bars you wanted to reach or times you wanted to lower to. Tell me about the adventure and actually the easiest and the toughest parts for preparing to compete.
Yeah. So this past year I've been really busy. I'm a mom. I work full time. I was studying. I just finished my cybersecurity architect program with the University of Ottawa and coding for veterans. So I've been really busy and throwing in all the training in there. I swim at lunchtime at work, and it's been great. I just competed for my first swim meet on Saturday. My time for a 50-meter freestyle when I first started, like a year ago, was 1 minute and 7 seconds. So I had a lot of work to do. So I've now down to 38 seconds this past weekend, which has been my best time. And at work, I have like a running tally, and everybody asks like, oh, what did you get this week? And it's been really fun to just shave off some time. I'm hoping to shave off some more time this Saturday. I have my second meet. It was a really good experience. I've never done something like that before. I was very nervous. Not a very good diver, so I didn't know how that was going to go, but it worked out, and I'm very happy with my time, and I'm hoping to shave off some more time at the games.
I also, in the conversation, you talked about doing the turn, but Frank, I won't have to do the turn in the event.
Yeah, so I could just go. So that's like, it's good, but so could everybody else. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So when you get there and you're do you have any nervousness, wondering how you're going to feel when you're at the competition? Is there any feeling that you have now?
I'm trying to avoid it, to be honest. It seems to work out for me. I avoid it until the day of, and then I feel a little bit of it. And then once I'm there, I settle down. And I don't know, the sports that we had, or the team that does the swim meet last Saturday, there was just such a fun experience. They had the Special Olympics there, and they were just dancing and having such a good time. It just calmed everybody down. Like it just took the competitiveness out of it. I mean, at the games, it's going to be a little bit more intense, I think. But our swim team with Team Canada, we're going to be great. Like, we're just going to crush it, and it's going to be a fun experience. I think everyone's probably a little bit nervous. Once we get there, get on the ground, have the opening ceremonies, and start to process what's happening, I think our nerves will settle, and we'll just get it done.
So I assume you have a different kind of veteran here, veterans of Invictus Games on your team.
Yes.
A lot of questions for them?
Yeah. I mean,
what have you asked them?
The veterans on our team?
Yeah. Like, I'm sure you're curious about what you're up against, what you're getting into.
Oh, the other, like, from the other nations. Well, I've heard their coach is Michael Phelps, so for the swimming for the United States. So that could be interesting, but no. Honestly, I've talked to a couple different nations, people from the UK. They were really interested in trading pins and coins. So they want our Team Canada coin. It's nice to see, again, other veterans that have gone through hard times, traumatic events, and we're all coming together and with all different abilities, and we're going to overcome something together. And it's just so inspiring.
So in other words, you're competing with them, not against them.
Yeah, that's how I look at it. I compete with who I was yesterday, and we're there to support each other. And that's from what I'm told from other competitors that did it in previous games, is you're not competing against each other. It's very supportive. Everybody's going to be there cheering. All different countries are going to be there cheering you on, and it's very supportive and accepting environment. I can't wait.
Yeah, I assume winning matters, but it's the cherry on top. The cake is the experience. Fair?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. What Team Canada, like our coaches told us from day one is medals will be celebrated, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to support each other and get through it and overcome your unique challenges. This is all our own personal journey. It's not necessarily all about getting the medals. I mean, we hope to get some medals and they will be celebrated, but it's our journey.
How good does it feel to look back to your past and now look at the future that you have? How good does that feel?
Yeah, it feels good. It's motivating. It's super inspiring.
And I guess you would say that the Invictus Games have been a very positive impact on you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The moment I found out I was going to the Invictus Games, it just changed my life. Everything just refocused. My goals all changed. The little things that were like such a big thing in my life, stressors that are out of my control. I just, I don't worry about those things anymore. And I just got focused on my goals and Invictus, all my sports, my training, the community. It's just been super supportive, and yeah, it's life-changing, and I haven't even started the games yet. So I can't imagine how this is going to propel me into the future. For me, I feel like this is just the beginning. Invictus has been a door for healing for a lot of us, and watching my competitors or my teammates overcome their challenges and hearing their stories, it's just super inspiring.
A lot of veterans organizations are a part of putting this together. The one that I contacted you through, Soldier On. Tell us a little bit about them and why they're important.
Oh, Soldier On is very important. They're helping all kinds of soldiers, veterans, overcome their challenges through fitness as well. They have a grant program where you can get them like whatever fitness, like not fitness equipment, but sports related equipment, whether it's a bike, a kayak. They have a grant program that will give you up to about $1,000 for that. And I actually got a mountain bike, and that started to get me fit again, because what happens with a lot of us when we get broken, our fitness isn't like it used to be, right? Which just adds so much more to our traumas and stuff that we have to deal with. So being fit, it helps us mentally and physically move forward. And Soldier On puts on all kinds of events, bowling, bread making, sourdough bread making, glassworks, and they're all over the country. And it's definitely, if you're not hooked up with them, you should sign up to Soldier On. And
so one of the biggest lessons that I guess we can share here today is that when you have trauma, you don't need to deal with it alone.
Absolutely. And don't shy away. Don't be ashamed. It doesn't matter what the trauma was, like it does, but you don't have to have the exact same experience for other people to understand what you're going through, and know there's help out there, and really lean on those veteran organizations out there that are there to give you help, because everyone's a little different and offer a very different experience, and you will gain so much friendships along the way that will just, it's support, and you need it, and you'll get better for it.
Well, I was really happy, not happy, but I was more than willing to hear about the other Melissa Henderson, the one that you're not now. One final word, I guess. What are you happiest about the new Melissa Henderson, if you hadn't had a chance to say that yet?
Yeah,
what be Melissa Henderson today, the version today?
Motivated, inspired. It's just, I feel like I have a new lease on life. I feel like I'm confident, obviously, that's come back, and I don't want to be the person I used to be, because I'm a lot wiser now. I'm able to help other people. And yeah, I'm super motivated. I can't wait to see where I'm going to take this experience and where I'm going to go in 5 years' time. I just I feel like I will be a different person, completely different person.
Well, I'm happy to meet this version of Melissa Henderson, Corporal Melissa Henderson, competitor in the Invictus Games coming up. Remind people again what events you'll be taking part in.
I'll be swimming in the 50-meter freestyle and the 100-meter freestyle swim, alpine skiing, skeleton, and sitting volleyball.
Okay, watch for Corporal Melissa Henderson at the Invictus Games. Thank you for doing this. I'm hoping this is a first in a series, but thank you for helping me to get this going. I really appreciate your help in that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Frank. It was my pleasure.
Mine as well. So she's Melissa Henderson. I'm Candid Frank Stanishi. Thank you for watching a meeting with Invictus Games athletes. Until next time.